sir. You're about to see something really special.
Really thought this part of my life was behind me. Frenzy disappeared with the drinking 3 years ago. Why now? This makes no sense, and I'm right on the verge of freaking out.
Back from your life.
These people can be animals.
What you burn.
Thingy's out.
Some bitter things you should never.
Good cheese.
Learn. Wallow through the days.
Remember, cosplay's not consent.
So here's to me. Congratulations, me. Yay, me.
This would all be so much easier if I was hammered. Hammered.
Won't be there anymore.
Right.
You can take away the anger, but you leave behind the pain. It's your soul I will.
New ventures are always scary.
Till I'm melting in
Blah, blah, blah. Something positive and uplifting.
tomorrow, but the hurt will still remain. In your soul I'll live forever, till I'm melting in.
Don't miss our new film, The Love Song of William H. Shaw, coming soon to a streaming service near you. Hey everyone, this is Cliff from Talking Pondo. Just wanted to give you a quick heads up about spoilers on the show. We do talk about the films in a certain amount of detail, so you may want to watch the film first and then come back if you're not a fan of spoilers. Also, every now and then there's a little bit of adult language, so we wanted to give you fair warning on that. We hope you enjoy the episode, and we really appreciate you listening. Welcome to Season 2 of Making Pondo and Talking Pondo. Talking Pondo is a podcast where Cliff and Marty give each other a film to watch and talk about them in detail. Some episodes will include a special guest. Making Pondo is a podcast where Cliff and Marty talk to people they have worked with and discuss their experiences on set. All right, Marty, we're back.
We are back.
Got a good one this time.
Yeah, another Making
Rubbing my
Pondo
hands
with
together in
guest.
excitement.
Yeah. Oh, he's rubbing his hands together. You can't see it, but Cliff is
Yes.
rubbing the hands together.
Excited, like a fly, ready to eat. I don't know what that means. Cronenberg. Anyway,
So we got a couple of interesting ones today, but aren't they always? We have Barbarella from 68, and then we have The Faculty from 98. So we have a 30-year gap between these two films today, and I think they're pretty good compare contrast today. So
both sci-fi pictures, yeah. One's
Yeah.
got a little bit of horror element to it that the other one doesn't. But
those are a
I
little
guess
scary.
depending on if you like Barbarella, it might be horror or it might not, right? But who's our guest today?
Our guest today is from Reels of Justice podcast. It is Robb Maynard.
Do I hear now? Do I?
Yes.
Can you have me like sort of transport in, like make a,
Put an
sound?
effect. I can show it.
Something. Maybe I ride on a lot of horses in ride 16
Where?
possibly or
I
more.
I don't have a lot of Foley. Try something.
Just get some coconuts and bang them together.
So
and get 16 friends to help you do that.
Sure, that's easy. I'll get that done right before the podcast comes out. So Robb joins us from Reels of Justice, where he and his friends prosecute movies, put them on trial, and decide whether or not they're bad. They are guilty of being bad or not. It's quite fun. Marty and I have been on there a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
We got to destroy
It's a
Twilight.
mock courtroom.
Yeah.
And a little peer behind the curtain. I believe Eclipse is coming up.
Ooh,
Is going to have its time soon.
Ooh, interesting.
In court. But yeah, it's a mock courtroom, and we have a weekly guest, and they go up against one of our co-hosts who fills in as the opposing counsel. And usually the guest gets to pick a movie, and they've got to convince the jury that it's not guilty of being a bad movie. Bad, you can obviously is a moving target, and that's the fun of the show. You know,
True.
when you're trying to objectively discuss something subjective.
The great thing about it is they've got enough episodes where people are starting to bring up precedent, which I think I've heard on the podcast really tickles their crew.
Marty brings up precedent,
but there's also I've heard a couple other people bring it up too. Yeah, but Marty loves to bring up precedent. Yeah, so it's pretty good. I have to ask.
I mentally think of myself as a new juror every week, so I kind of, the precedent, whether it sways me or not.
Right.
How did you get Simon Majundar on the show? That was like when I was going through your episodes, picking, kind of cherry picking through them in the beginning. I was like, how that? I watch him I love cooking shows, so
yeah,
I've seen
yeah.
him on so many things.
Mhm.
So it's very cool.
We just reached out to him and explained the concept of the show, and he liked the concept of the show.
Fantastic.
That's kind of been the case of a lot of our more interesting guests. I think they like the kind of game show angle challenge.
It's very
that the
people's
show can
court for
pose.
movies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I really like. I really like that.
Although
concept.
silliness plays a big part. So sometimes if you lean into the riz, that can go a long way to helping your case. Also helps keep your case interesting if you're now on writing your 50th or 60th case, like some of our hosts are. Adding the riz keeps the case a little bit more interesting, so that we're not always just talking about character development and act one problems
and intention.
Right.
Yes.
It must be pretty challenging having to be forced to watch 2 movies every week that you might not necessarily want to sit through.
Luckily, it's not 2 every week,
bad,
thankfully. But sometimes it's a chore, but most of the time it's not. But yeah, we don't tend to pick good movies.
Yeah,
so
sometimes that's
right,
rough. Yeah,
either they're sitting on the fence or they're downright garbage. Sometimes they're good. We did Silence of the Lambs, and it was an interesting thought piece to have to try to prosecute Silence of the Lambs.
I listened to that one, and the person that you brought on had a very unique perspective on it, which I had never honestly considered, and Ryan, I thought Ryan did a really good job with it too.
And then having participated in it and seen it, I had my own strong feelings, so I immediately appeals it too. So I have an appeals case on it too, with my own sort of slant on it. So kind of did Silence twice a little bit.
Sometimes it's tough when it's a slog movie and you've got 2 of them.
Luckily we don't today. Both of our movies today are great.
We'll get to that. We'll get
Whoa! All right. I feel like you're going to disagree, and I feel like we're
hang
fighting already. But all right,
not fighting. Just hang on. No, I was going to say, we finished our first season relatively recently, and I gave him Zorro the Gay Blade was the movie I gave him, thinking this is a fun frolic, and from the 80s, and it was like I dragged him through,
that was just terrible.
Broken glass. and I've been on a pretty bad streak so far giving him. I'm like, surely he'll like this. No,
so the Blade was not gay. Was not actually gay.
It was not gay enough, I guess.
The title lied.
Yeah.
It lied to me titularly. I hate when it does that.
Yeah, I liked about half the movie, but then the other half was just, it took too long to get going. You have to sit there about 45 minutes until the plot even starts.
To actually get.
I've learned to not be greedy. I don't expect a movie to be good all the way through. If you're good at some point, that counts for a lot.
Right.
Getting a beginning right. A lot of movies don't. So
this is true. True. So which one do you want to tackle first here, Marty? Barbarella?
Let's do Barbarella
chronologically.
Yeah.
Barbarella? All right.
Yeah,
68.
Yeah.
Barbarella, 68.
Barbarella.
I was doing the exact same thing watching this movie.
Yeah, I didn't do it while watching the movie, luckily.
I was literally singing Barbarella to myself.
I was singing Duran Duran songs to myself throughout the whole film. So
I loved that. That really did tickle me. Do you guys do a whole synopsis first, or?
Yeah, we do a quick rundown of the movie. I'll just give you I'll give you the tagline or the
I saw the
movie and then the plot. Well, the audience. In the 41st century, an astronaut partakes in sexy misadventures while seeking to stop an evil scientist who threatens to unleash a powerful weapon upon the galaxy. So that's your log line for Barbarella. Storyline is basically the year is 4000. After peacefully floating in zero gravity, astronaut Barbarella lands on the frozen planet Lithion and sets out to find renowned scientist Duran Duran in the city of night, Sogo, where a new sin is invented every hour. She encounters such objects as the excessive machine, a genuine sex organ on which an expert artist at the keyboard, in this case Duran Duran himself, can drive a victim to death by pleasure, a lesbian queen who can make her fantasies take form in her chamber of dreams, and a group of ladies smoking a giant hookah, which dispenses
Objection.
essence of man through-
Objection.
This is just
The queen.
It's a glass globe.
Wikipedia or something.
Objection. The queen was not a lesbian. The
No, I
queen
was thinking that too.
bisexual.
Yeah.
The queen was bisexual, at least. No, we will not commit bi-erasure here.
Take that.
Bisexual
There's a
queen.
whole argument about if that even exists. So, well, I mean, okay, bisexual, good, bisexual. All right. So
We don't have time to cover that in Barbarella today.
That's right. No, we don't. So, yeah,
She
essence
could
of
be
man. through a poor
pansexual,
victim
actually.
struggling
I'm
against
not
glass
even being
globe.
fair. So, but
So that's your. So right away, the movie's thin on plot, and that's kind of. In my opinion, that's some of how these movies were back in the day.
Well, it's based on that French comic strip, right?
Sci-fi
there's-
movies like this, sci-fi movies that weren't hard science sci-fi movies, you usually tended to have a little bit more of a vague plot like this back then to allow them to kind of do their set pieces and their things that they were doing and move the story along.
absolutely. But it makes up for it with some wonderful set pieces and some really great costumes and lack of costumes at times.
I mean, you get an opening sequence of Jane Fonda taking all of her clothes off, floating in zero G, and
Now there's a couple of versions.
who can
of
be
this
mad
movie,
at that? But,
correct.
yeah, the one I
There's-
saw was much more edited in that.
Yeah, I think there's one that's like 2 minutes shorter based on the editing, and I don't know which one I saw. I'm assuming I saw the more tame one though.
Huh. From what I read
because-
was apparently the version they reissued in 77 was edited for theaters, but apparently every home video version has been the uncut. That's just what I
okay.
read, so I don't really know.
That, all right, now that's pretty damning there though.
For PG, I
so-
mean, you get away with a lot back then, so.
I'm yeah,
it was PG.
Yeah, this would not be PG now. But yeah, this was.
I mean, there's
this
breasts. I mean, they're not. There's not a lot, but they're there. But the thing is, I think this isn't. I wouldn't call this a sex romp. She's
more of a farce.
Sexually liberated in a way, but
she's sexually innocent, and it's like because she seems like she has never.
She loses that innocence throughout the movie, though.
Right.
I wouldn't say. Well, okay, I can't say she loses her innocence. She loses her naivete or inexperience. Really, she loses her inexperience.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah,
because it's that whole.
She's still innocent.
It's that whole Demolition Man sex that she's experiencing.
Yeah, absolutely. Which that guy seems to really like, though.
He sure seems. I've been hiding these pills for 5 years. Take the pills with me.
What good were they? You know,
really? I mean, come on.
And that Duran had no purpose for them either, apparently, for the same reason, I guess.
And that's, and again, this is the type of movie that you can't dig too deeply into because you just begin to find, hole after hole, and you start to ask questions. So you just kind of go, you know what? I'm just going to sit back and sort of, like you said, enjoy the visuals. It's a very pretty movie. The set design, whoever did the set design did a fantastic fucking job on the set design, like wildly creative set design. And then you've got Paco Rabanne, who does all the fucking costumes, and Paco Rabanne's a really well-known designer who dealt with a lot of futuristic kind of metal, worked in metal and stuff for design. So all that stuff's there. It's just, man, I wanted some backup with the story and a little bit more coolness rather than just kind of this like sort of weird set piece to set piece thing that we got.
No, that's the.
And I gotta veer. I'm happy that there was a lack of substance. I wanted this to be nothing but a fluffy romp. Nothing but good vibes. Jane Fonda just sort of like turning the world on with her smile, the universe on with her smile in this case. A happy ending. It almost a fairy tale, right? Where the evil queen, bisexual or otherwise, however she identifies, comes over and is sort of purified and joins the right side. Even though I'm not really sure what necessarily made her evil. I'm really not sure exactly what made any of the city evil for sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
but they decidedly said it was evil, right? I mean,
right. Well, the guys, they said it was evil, so we should blow it up. They said it was,
Well, you have to remember, everyone who made this movie had to be on acid, right?
God, yes. Oh,
right?
God,
and that's an important part of the vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely a psychedelic movie for sure.
Absolutely.
Heavy into that.
But remember, the city had, or the labyrinth had that Ghostbuster 2-ish slime thing that reacted to your emotions, and if you were negative, it would eat you alive. And doesn't it this thing that it puked you out because you're so innocent at the end.
There's a lot of lore here, and it's a very lived-in world, but it's not explained to us through a bunch of like exposition. It just sort of happens because the people making the film were just like, yeah, emotional river of slime.
It's look, I love the opening of the movie. I think it's kind of neat. Marty, I have to say, in this movie, once again, like we just did get into the Greek, so I'm going to say you got to stroke the furry walls. Which this movie had a bunch of. The entire cockpit of her.
It's a euphemism.
Just furry walls.
You know that, right?
Yes, of course. I'm aware.
Okay. I'll tell you who got the short end of the stick of the titles. I can't remember the guy's name, but the letters of his name go up and cover the naughty bits of Jane Fonda after.
Yeah,
and so
right.
everyone hates that guy. It's not even his fault. He didn't make the title either. But whoever made the titles were like, fuck that guy. We're going to make him the most hated guy in the world. Have him cover all of Fonda's naughty bits.
One of the things that I had a note here is that this is back in the day when like molded plastics were the wave of the future and so futuristic. So
wave of the future.
We got to get a lot of molded plastics in here, guys. Like, let's go. And it really struck me that 10 years later, Lucas is like, I don't want any of that shit in my movie. I want the Empire to be clean and fucking beautiful, and I want the Rebels to be dirty and analog and broken down and shitty, and that's the aesthetic I want. And so it was a real shit. Like, I mean, the dude did Logan's Run, and Logan's Run seems to kind of fall more into that molded plastic kind of attempt that they're doing, and then he moves into Star Wars, and it's completely, in my opinion, different.
I think it's the Warning from Space aesthetic that that Kubrick picked up on a lot too in 2001. But Warning from Space, the Dai, I believe it's Dai. I'll kick it if it's not Dai. But it's a Japanese sci-fi film. That I believe Riff Tracks does it. It's our friend at Brit. It's actually Brit Tracks who does it. It's Matthew J. Elliott and Ian Potter. Okay. They do it, but Warning from Space is
Warning from Space. I'm gonna write that one down.
It's a very silly Japanese sci-fi film, but the actual aesthetics of the spaceship went on to inspire, like Kubrick, who went on to inspire others. So ipso facto, the silly starfish alien movie actually, was kind of cool. The aliens are big starfish with big eyes. They look like Starro.
I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
I even saw things in Barbarella that seem to inspire things like in Star Wars. Like they have early versions of flying around doing dogfights that are so primordial in Barbarella, and you cut to 10 years later and you have TIE fighters and X-Wings. And I know there's other movies in between, but it just felt like Barbarella led to a lot of other movies. Mostly like Flash Gordon from 1980 really feels Barbarella-ish to me.
Oh, I completely agree with
influences in Heavy Metal, the cartoon.
Flash Gordon too.
I was going to say, to me, Barbarella feels like that's where Flash Gordon, that's kind of where this was heading. And
Alexina, every one of those type of movies all owes it.
I feel like a lot of the aesthetics from Barbarella, like you said, were grabbed by a lot of people.
Superman even has a little bit of it, the very first Superman. But the one that really caught me was there's a movie from the 80s called The Perils of Gwendolyn in the Land of Yik Yak, starring Tawny Katane. And it's
a hell of a title.
Yeah, it's also known as Gwendolyn, the original French title, but it's kind of like how...
What was the French title?
Just Gwendolyn.
Just Gwendolyn, based off the Perils of
better
Gwendolyn.
title.
And it feels like instead of an outer space aesthetic, it's a Raiders of the Lost Ark aesthetic, but it's still kind of the same movie as Barbarella in a way. Right down to where we get the whole ranking system with the one boob out, one boob hidden thing. And of course it's the 80s, so it's a lot hornier of a film, but it's kind of the same thing, and also based on a French comic, so it's kind of weird. It's also weird that the film Danger Diabolique was filmed in the same studio right before Barbarella, which explains why John Philip Law is in both films. And that's another French comic strip about bondage and leather gear and tight plastics.
So you just hang around the studio long enough, and they'll just keep hanging around. They'll keep putting you in movies.
Right.
My favorite line from the movie is "Better adjust my tongue box."
Yes,
I love that line. I just think it's silly. And
my yearbook quote.
right? And then the other is primitive state of neurotic irresponsibility. That's all of us, That's great.
And I love Duran, himself, but obviously it inspires the band, and I didn't know that, until seeing the movie. I actually hadn't seen this movie until this. I hadn't seen it before. It had been recommended, I think, by Big Ben Hassler, but I hadn't seen it. I don't know. Is it a household kind of movie? I think I thought it was more, even more smutty, like closer to a Flesh Gordon, like really, really swinger and rompery. And it's not. It's if you took a little bit of the nudity out, kids could watch this, without the orgasm machine, obviously. And
what's the point?
Right.
Jeez.
And the fact that she's able to just make everyone like her by sleeping with all of them. What I thought of the whole time,
I guess so.
It's your
the whole time I watched the movie, I kind of thought it was like a Wizard of Oz sort of story, like Barbarella's Dorothy dropped in the world, and as she meets each kind of guy and is able to turn her to her side, she builds ally and ally until she's able to finally overcome sort of the evil authority who was the person in the big city, but not who they seem to be. I think kind of loose, but it's kind of what I thought of, especially the evil city. I kept thinking of like Oz and stuff.
And the hairy guy is kind of like the Cowardly Lion in a way, in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of loose, but especially as she's like, oh, she's just going to keep meeting new suitors. Like, here's the angel who can't fly, but now Barbarella's going to help him
through the magic of sex.
Through the magic of sex.
He needed a boost.
Yeah.
Oh, he needs a morale boost? I've got something to fix that.
Yeah, we forgot about this.
It's such a male fantasy.
Is it just a jump cut in the movie too?
They just jump and suddenly she's in the bird's nest, like
exactly, and then he's flying. And you're like,
in the down, and he's flying, and of course he is.
Yeah.
I thought of it as more of a female fantasy because she's the one in control and the guys are kind of just the subservient boy toys throughout, where it's like, oh, here's a guy like this. Here's a guy like this. Is that a
female fantasy, to sleep with men until they're better?
No, it might not be the right fantasy.
I'm very interested. Ladies.
Oh, shit. We're going to get a lot of comments on this episode.
After the
fantasy out.
That was great.
It's an interesting film, we'll say that.
I can think of many volunteers to help you.
The first guy that she encounters, the hunter guy that hunts the kids for the creepy kids with the biting dolls.
They were evil kids and scary dolls.
They were no scary. That was really well done. That was pretty well done. The guy though, he shows up in this weird like gorilla bear suit. It looks like a gorilla bear suit, and then when he goes to make love to her, he pulls the bear suit off, and he's just so hairy, he's just like wearing another bear suit under him, and I was just like, why even put the bear suit on? You don't even need it. Anyway, I thought it was hilarious.
Right?
Well, I'm sure that got a good laugh in the theater.
Sure, me too.
I actually saw this at the theater of a revival screening a few years ago, and if you ever get a chance, that is the way to really see that one. The set pieces and everything works so much better large. TV just doesn't quite translate as well on the small screen.
I think this movie, is due for kind of a resurgence, like in the world of film Twitter and memeing. I mean, this thing is so visually iconic in so many places.
No kidding.
Ripe for Comic-Con cosplays. I mean, of just Barbarella herself, but really a lot of the characters in this movie would definitely work. And then just those killer scary dolls. I mean, they would, they're begging to be memed,
Yeah, I agree. The music in
Return of Oz has gotten such a reappraisal with its scary wheelman. I think that these killer dolls this deserves to be somewhere in the traumatic, imagery.
I think the music's a little dated for me. It sounds like
the 60s,
yeah, I know, but it sounds like music. But even then, it sounds like music that would be in like an informational video for 3M products. Like 3M, we make marketing and technology, and that, it just kind of kept pulling me out. I'm like, it's weird.
The 60s movies I know with like Casino Royale, like it's got the Herb Albert at the beginning. It's always got that kind of upbeat.
Yeah, but this I thought this is like a worse version of that in my opinion. Like it was by like
yes, it's worse than Herb Albert.
Second-rate version of it, right?
Right. Well, yeah, even if you get third rate, that's not that bad. Third rate to Herb Albert, that's not too bad. But I think a 60s kind of upbeat it immediately established the stakes that this was going to be a fun romp, that we were here to have a good time and watch Jane Fonda having a good time, and so I dug it. I thought about Fantastic Voyage a lot because it also kind of has an upbeat soundtrack and a lot of great set pieces.
I have a note here that in late 60s, that I feel like people who would have gone to see this are the same people who thought that like Playboy was a cosmopolitan magazine and read it for the articles, along with being very forefront. Hey, there's a Kilgore Trout piece in that I want to read. Don't throw that away, type of thing.
And this is before the golden age of porn, so it was probably considered like, oh, this isn't
pretty
swing.
racy.
This is kind of like an upper class thing,
Even around now, the nudie cuties were in pretty prominent swing. So to go see a whole movie like this just to get a few seconds of breasts, I don't think would do it when there's so many of those like a nudist stories, and there's like
no
a
volleyball
couple
in this
dozen of
movie.
those.
No volleyball.
There is a lot of volleyball. What else are you gonna do naked? I guess. But like or there's like the Mondo documentary kind of stuff. So I think if you're looking to satisfy the perverts, there's too much charm to the production value in this one.
It's the innocence of it, and then all the ones that come after, the Flesh Gordons and even like the Gwendolyn I was talking about, they ramp up the sex part of it, so it doesn't have the innocence factor.
Yeah, this movie kind of gives up on the nudity. I mean, like it pulls it back in at the kind of the end of the movie when you get to that big scene and the girls on the swing or whatever. But like they do, okay, here's Jane Fonda nude. Here it is for just a second again, and then off to Storyland.
Well, it's the year 4000, and they don't know or care about sex, so being naked to them doesn't matter. So I think that's kind of the context of it.
But space is cold.
And it has scary parakeets. Watching that scene where she was attacked by those parakeets, I was like, I've owned at least 5 or 6 of those birds throughout the years. I was like, I remember that one and that one. But then I told myself they're outer space parakeets. Maybe they're a little more vicious than the ones that
apparently.
Pluto Keats.
They'll kill you every time. Pygar, watch out. That is a line in the movie.
She says Pygar a lot.
I know, but
Pygar's the guy's name.
He's fucking blind.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I guess. But he
watch
has
out.
other senses.
Oh man, it's a fun movie. I just, for me, it's kind of a slog. That music really throws me. I wanted to sing My Beautiful Balloon at one point in the middle of the movie, because it's just that's what it reminds me of.
But I mean,
but I can't deny like I said, the artistic attempt is there. And I've been reading a lot online lately, especially with Megalopolis coming out, about like, should you take a big fucking swing or not? Right? Like, should you make a movie that is going to be commercially viable and have people, or should you just take a big swing and make the movie that you want to make and forget the audience? And I'm starting to lean more towards take the fucking swing and fuck the audience, and they can find it if they want or not.
The audience will find it. Yeah.
But art by committee is bullshit, right? Like, I mean, I just read that a lot of these studios are going to start bringing in super fans to build these new stories that they're building. Like Marvel, they want to bring in a bunch of super fans and go, what do you guys want to see? And that's a terrible idea. That is
on the super
terrible idea, because most super fans can't.
What if they invited you?
I wouldn't do it. I'd say, look, at most I would say something like, I wouldn't mind seeing this type of story or that type of story, but I'm not going to tell you how to do these characters, create them, or what plot you should do, and I'm not going to weigh in on that shit because I want to see the art. Like, if we'd done that, the Russo brothers may have fucked up Infinity War and Endgame. You got to have this, you got to have that. No, you don't. Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I just watching this movie reminded me like this is a $9 million budget in '68. That's a big fucking swing for a.
It looks like they got to do whatever they want. Yeah. It doesn't feel like there was notes on this movie. It felt more like
it was completely just wide open, and I admire the shit out of that part of it.
I mean, what did it make?
It according to IMDb, it made $1,800 in theaters.
1,800.
1,800 is what IMDb reports it at.
Oh, I'm sure it did better than that.
I
They
can't
got
believe that
re-issued
either.
throughout
Yeah,
the years,
I can't,
yeah.
literally,
Jane
that's what
Fonda's
I'm.
a bigger name than that.
Let me look on Wiki here. Let's see.
$1,288 gross worldwide is what
Yeah,
IMDb
right.
has. They
I'm
also say that
skeptical on it.
I am
but,
too. I am too.
Especially, I mean, we just talked about all the things it's likely inspired because you can see those design elements picked up in things we see later. So
I got real
somebody
weird.
had to see this goddamn thing to be inspired by it, and I
got
assume
weird-
they paid.
I got weird Krull vibes, like when they're in the dream room. I got some seriously wild. I was like, oh, I'm fucking. Why am I getting Krull vibes so strong from this movie?
This inspired so many things.
It's
yeah.
definitely people have been pulling from this. I
She
love
even
the
has
fact
a
that they
hex
named.
field view screen at one point.
True.
Mhm.
True.
I mean, I feel like they took the swing, but I feel like they nailed it. I feel like it's if what they wanted was the light-hearted sci-fi sex comedy romp. I mean, I think sex is a little bit on the back burner more than they would think, but
I think the comedy is too. Honestly, I didn't find it very funny. Like I didn't find this movie to be like I wasn't.
well,
Oh man, that's hilarious.
I think it means. I think we're talking about comedy too in the classic sense, in that it has a happy ending, right? It's not a tragedy.
Yeah.
I love that they named a character Dildano. So close. Why don't you just name him Dildo and get it over with? You know that's what you wanted to do. But anyway,
who knows? Who knows? Maybe they weren't even called dildos back in the '60s. Maybe they had a cooler name.
Yeah.
Well, that's what that was my other note. Why not just name him Steely Dan and get it over with? That would have been cooler. You know. He also looks like the bad cop in Moving Violations. Which I found very funny.
Right,
Made me laugh.
So it says here.
See, you found something funny. You were like, wasn't funny. It's not comedy. It's not funny.
Yeah, 5.5 million it made.
5.5 million. Okay,
Yeah.
that's probably okay. They said it was
how much? You said off a $9 million budget.
9 million. Yeah, so it's
that's
so
a
it's
bad swing,
loss.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's shocking to me because like I think of all the cave, the dinosaur and cave woman movies were still so popular around that time.
10,000
and into the 70s. Yep. And I just would think that this kind of thing is pretty girl running around for 2 hours. Most people are going to sign up. What's the problem? The poster alone looks colorful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
just
great.
I don't know why people wouldn't be there for it.
It's the art is there. The art of the film is there. It's just it lacks story. It really
I don't think
lacks.
you need it.
Yeah, I don't think it was.
That's part of what you need. If you need,
No, not if it's
going to find.
It's about a world. The story is see this world, become more familiar with this strange little futuristic space world where sex is, in some ways more appropriate, in other ways more locked down. She's a fish out of water, so one, you get to see the world that she's from, which is so different from ours, and then the world she goes to, which is even different from both. So plot, I mean, it's like saying, well, what's the plot of The Wizard of Oz? I mean, she's just moving locations and meeting people. She's doing the same thing here to ultimately meet another final character. She has a journey, right? I mean, at the beginning, she really has no friends. She's completely lonely. And by the end, she builds probably even more than we see with the Queen. Because like I said, she's met several other characters along the way who have kind of re-popped up. So I think there is a story. It may not have twists, but there is movement. She moves, and there are characters, and again, locations, and I think that's enough, combined with all the aesthetics of it too, and the fantastic music which you brought up.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree, but I see where you're coming from, and I recognize why people would like this film. It's just not one that I really, I saw this film, I think the first time on Night Flight in 1984 or 85.
Wow. That's probably about when I saw it.
I've seen it. I think I was 12 or 13, and I've seen it several times since. And every time it's right about the time that they get in the sled and the manta ray things are all swooping,
Oh, that manta ray is so cool.
I was
Man,
just like,
I forgot all about
what the
that.
fuck? You lost me. just because it just I love the wild silliness of the art and and where they're going and the attempt they're making, but
And that's so
there's
as a
nothing
fan of
supporting it.
as a fan of Japanese taku, that's so Kamen Rider or Super Sentai, that manta ray pulling that sled along, like that is so bizarro like that.
It's
That was
very
great.
bizarre.
I
Yeah.
popped for it, I remember.
And strangely enough, how does this movie tie into The Faculty? Well, at one time, Robert Rodriguez, the director of The Faculty, was set to do a remake of Barbarella starring Rose McGowan. It was around
That's
the time
right.
period of Grindhouse, but it fell through. And now apparently somebody else is still trying to remake Barbarella for next year. I almost wish they wouldn't, because I feel like they're going to make a perfect slick version, and I like kind of the weird
Warts and all
clunkiness, like the
version.
trying to fly against the Star Trek-esque background, and I like the handmade aspect of it. So if they do remake it, I hope they don't make it too slick.
It needs to be auteur director driven, like if Tim Burton's not the right guy anymore, but Tim Burton, like, maybe 15 years ago was probably the right guy or the right kind of guy, where he's got such a visual eye, and then if you put the right person in the character, I'm gonna say Anya Taylor-Joy. There, I said it. Because she's in everything now, and she would have that sweet bubbly innocence to drive that, but it can't be like the sex romp doesn't shock anymore. I mean, sex doesn't shock in that way. So I think basically you could remake it, but we kind of saw it last year and it was Poor Things, right? Sex driven, starlet that carries all the momentum of the story, meeting people on a journey as she goes along. Like I said, a lot of nudity and stuff in it. So Poor Things essentially is kind of Barbarella in a mixed with Frankenstein in a different world. So I do think it would work, but it's a different sort of
yeah. It says here Edgar Wright signed on to direct and Sydney Sweeney set to star.
I was gonna say Sydney Sweeney, but she's gonna be too sexual. She's gonna be she's gonna smolder, and
that's the angle they're gonna take with it. It's gonna change the film.
Right.
Yeah.
So I always support stuff that Sweeney does. But I think that she's like someone that they dressed her as a nun for a whole movie and she was still sexy the whole time. It's going to be overload. I think putting someone who comes off as more innocent in the role, like Fonda does, comes off real innocent and modest. I think that's the other thing. Modest, right? Anna de Armas would be a good pick. Because she's really got the hyper likability thing.
Big time.
She's and the innocence too. So
that's
of a
what
Disney
I think.
Princess come to life.
Exactly. Yeah, and Fonda, especially back then, had that. Especially in this movie, has that vibe. She really nails that. Like we were talking about, that naivete.
Well, and modesty too. Like, right? She doesn't know exactly what she's got. Because she's new to the world. So, her whole Earth girls like you. I'm about average.
You could play a drinking game with the number of times that they have her stick her butt in the camera and be drunk 45 minutes into this movie.
I thought you were going to say when she says Pygar, take a sip.
Yeah,
some of us were drunk before the movie.
You'd be blacked out if you did Pygar, you would be blackout drunk and wouldn't finish the movie. Anyway, what do you give it? Star Wars.
Marty was trying to transition to the Faculty, but if okay, we're doing stars. Okay,
yeah,
all right.
Best out of 5.
All right, what are you going with?
I give it a 3. I got a good kick out of it. Throughout the years, I enjoy it more and more, and I've started just looking at it as just follow where it goes and don't try to make sense out of it too much. Every 10 minutes, the story is going to switch again, and just go with it. But I enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. It's not perfect, but 3. I think 3 is good.
Rob, what do you think?
I'm going 4 out of 5.
Oh, 4.
I think.
All right.
I think the aesthetics are all very singular. I think it inspires a lot of stuff that comes after it. Really light, very bubbly, bright. Even the evil guys aren't that evil. There's like one kind of sinister scene in it. Like I said, if it wasn't sexual, it'd be damn near like a Disney family romp thing. So just such good vibes out of it. It's
just as a collective whole, such a bright aesthetic and piece of art. So I thought it was fantastic.
I'm gonna go 3, although I really want to go 2. I really want to go 2.5, but just because that for me it just fails in some points. But I agree with you guys that as far as a movie that people dip into for inspiration and they borrow from for a lot of things and have over the years, it's a very important piece of filmmaking. But for me, it's like it just doesn't hit like I want it to. I want it to be better. I want it to tell me a little bit more story. I want that music to be a little bit better. I don't know. I'll probably be the guy that's like, the fucking Barbarella remake is way better than the original. That'll probably be me, right? Sydney Sweeney's in it. It's great. Fucking Edgar Wright's awesome.
So then our second movie today is it's an interesting combination. You get Robert Rodriguez and Kevin Williamson teaming up. So it's your Scream El Mariachi combination you never knew that you needed in your life. But it's The Faculty from 1998. I was one of the few people that actually saw this when it came out, because apparently it didn't do that great, but it's gotten a cult following over the years. But I remember seeing it at the drive-in. And much like Barbarella, at the time I was like, it's okay. But as the years go by, I find myself enjoying this movie more and more. But what is The Faculty, Cliff?
The Faculty from 1998. When Casey Connor, Harrington High School's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse and sees her alive again, he decides to investigate the bizarre happenings. That's your log line. Your
How
storyline.
vague.
Your storyline is a horror tale set in high school where the students suspect the teaching staff of being aliens who are intent on making the students their victims. Pretty much the rundown.
Yeah.
It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers in a high school with a cast of archetypal student archetypes.
It's Dawson's Creek meets the Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Let's not bury the lead here. Probably the best cast of the 90s.
It's a fantastic cast.
Like as far as cameos go, especially. I mean, it's hard to compete.
I imagine that Salma Hayek was like, I don't have to put any makeup on for this. Shit, yeah, I'm in. Like, because she was just, because she's sick during the whole movie. She's
we're
not
going to
feeling
do a
well.
non-glamorous part for a change.
Yeah, not like where she's just like, I don't have to fucking lose. I don't have to, worry about what I look like. I don't have to sit in a makeup trailer for 2 hours. Just get me on camera. Great,
Quite different from Dusk Till Dawn a few years earlier.
Exactly, exactly. And another Robert Rodriguez movie, right?
Yeah.
So she's gone both ways, right? She's gone the whole gamut. But that's a fantastic cast.
Jon Stewart, I forgot, was in this. That was a surprise.
Jon Stewart's one of the teachers. BB Newworth is the principal.
Right? Yeah.
Fucking, as soon as I saw her, I was like, oh, I'm already giving a half a star because she's in the fucking movie. Anybody from Frasier
Jensen, who they try to put glasses and a sweater on to pretend she's not the most beautiful woman in the world, and it's like, no.
We're gonna dress you up as the ugly librarian. It's not gonna work.
Ugly librarian fitness model. Not a chance. But
Usher's in this movie.
Usher, yes. Usher is.
Shooter McGavin is in this fucking movie.
Yes, he's the dad. Exactly. He's terrific. Who's the English teacher? The male teacher too.
What's his name? He's a really well known character.
But he's one of those guys.
Daniel von Bargen.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and then you've got
von Bargen.
They did. You've got Jordana Brewster.
Yes, Jordana Brewster, who
goes
kind
on
of
to do
before.
the whole fucking franchise. Yep.
And this is pre-Lord of the Rings too for Elijah
Wood is exactly. We haven't even gotten it. Everyone we named there was like the cast and we forgot probably the best, and we haven't even of Robert Patrick, the coach, and that's just the faculty themselves. We haven't even gotten to the students. We did mention Jordana Brewster,
Josh Hartnett's in it.
Josh Hartnett as a stud muffin, Elijah Wood.
Clea Duvall's in this.
Clea Duvall, who is one of my early crushes, and I still have from this movie, is I've got such a huge crush on Clea Duvall in this movie, because she's so tough and so cool, and she kicked aliens' asses.
And then Laura Harris, and
Sean. I don't think she gets to do much else, does she?
No, she's the one that it's weird. She's the one that does the nudity. but yeah,
Mhm.
it's weird that she does. I don't remember seeing her in anything else. Like I haven't seen her in much else. She's great in this, not because of the nudity, but she's just great in the film as itself. But
I think she's pretty good in the film itself. There might have been like,
I can't
you know,
remember
a lot of
anything
the
else
roles
she's
she
been
went
in.
up to might have gone to like Sarah Michelle Gellar and stuff around
Right,
that kind of time.
that would make sense.
Around that sort of competition. Because even Stan, the football player, I don't think I've seen him in a lot of other
Right.
stuff, but he's
Yeah.
he's really good.
Mhm.
Sean
I think-
Hatosi, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I guess so. But
yeah.
I mean, all six of them, like all the main student cast. I mean, they're archetypical characters, but I feel like they're very lived in. Even just, I think that's the great way that the story's told across basically 2.5 days of really establishing this is what it's like every day in this school until and it's immediately sort of lived in. You kind of believe everyone, even even Famke Jensen to a degree.
It's a
but,
surprisingly
yeah.
violent school. Like, I mean, there's like, I mean, they just grab
Well,
Elijah
did you
Wood up
go
and
to
just
if you
run
ever
his
been to public
nuts
school?
to a pole. I have, and look, it's my school
Was that not happening
violent,
at
but,
yours?
I mean, there weren't jocks just picking nerds up and ramming their balls into poles. No, I mean
Lucky
that
you.
I mean that no, I mean I've seen some kids get dragged down a a grass hill.
You
and
didn't
stuff
have
like that.
pens full of caffeine and other household items to snort?
No,
Leave him
no, I
alone.
didn't.
He's tweaking.
Yeah, nor did I have my own chemistry lab that I in my garage and steal chemicals from the chem department
Josh
to make my
Hartnett,
drugs that I was
He
selling.
reminded me of like a fucked up real genius Val Kilmer character, right? Like he knew everything.
Yes.
He's a smart guy, but he's a little fucked up with the way his attitude is between him and
He also reminded me of fucking Timothy Van Patten in Class of 1984.
a little bit of
Do
that.
I get the job? Teach, that type of shit. Where he's really smart, but he's also, I think even Famke said, if you just apply 5%
Oh yeah,
of
he's
your,
too smart, so he's the
too
problem.
smart, he's too good for it all, and he's so smart, he's just, it's beneath him to fuck with these people. God,
Well, I mean, I
he's got
kind
a
of like that though.
He's fucking.
Yeah, it's
I
fun.
do. No, oh, I'm being facetious, but that's an archetype that I quite enjoy in movies. Yeah,
It's like he's the goofy, he's the failed F student, but not because he's stupid, right? It's just he's disinterested, right? And it's not challenging enough, and he realizes that he could skate by easier, and I think that's very believable and logical for him.
And meanwhile,
don't really believe Laura Harris being into him, but
no,
she's not a human.
You're right.
Well, we don't know that throughout the
That's
movie.
true.
So, like throughout the movie, you're kind of like, really? What's she seeing him?
It's funny when you go back and you know the twist, and you start looking for the little hints of where oh yeah, she really is the.
There's not much,
yeah,
really.
They when they put the little critters in the aquarium tank, she's making some faces in that scene that are a little indicative, but yeah, it's not much. Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of stuff. Well, it's Williamson, right? So he's trying to throw, his red herrings at you so that you don't buy them, which is new girl in town. Hey, we never had a problem until you showed up. It's a very frequent red herring in these kind of stories. So you're just kind of like,
they bring that up too, yeah.
And it turns
right, exactly. The movie goes out its way, and you know who brings it up? It's Jordana Brewster's character, who's already an alien at the time, which means that, and what we know is there's a telepathic link. They're all sort of her slaves, and that. So she wants to introduce the idea that it could be her, because by introducing the suspicion, she removes it.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I was kind of disappointed at the beginning because Lilith is the first death. B.B. Newer's character is the first death. And I thought, well, shit, she's not going to be in any more of the movie. They killed her. And she's down. Fuck. Because I was looking forward to kind of you don't see her in a lot of movies. And then she popped back up again. And I was like, fucking right on. Oh shit, she's an alien. Oh shit. So anyway, I like that.
Which is bizarre because pod people, they're replacements, right? They're copies. But here they actually take over them. So I don't know why they'd stab her a whole bunch of times with scissors. I don't think that anything's established that they heal faster or anything like that. Yeah. It's Williamson's way of trying to lead you off the trail of thinking, oh, the teachers are just going homicidal. he doesn't want you to know until the beginning of Act 2 that it's
Right.
aliens.
Right.
And it's like, okay, but then that doesn't make sense. Why is she stabbing her? You know, like, so Williamson, he's
great. One of my notes is this has such a Scream feel to it, like somebody
it's
wanted
like
to do
a
a Scream
sci-fi
type
Scream.
movie.
Yeah,
It's very much that.
because they're all aware who
this is
made
back
you
in the
Sigourney Weaver and all that. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
And ultimately, it's another whodunit. One of the 6 is the killer or the alien in
Right.
this case.
So here, snort this.
And it's kind of enclosed. I mean, he keeps it mainly in the high school, like much like kind of like a Scream movie. It's in the high school and then a couple of houses, and that's basically it. Maybe in a sheriff's department, but he limits his locations and moves his story very quickly.
Yeah, it's a town
to start building. Yeah, you could have really taken that story and been like, because one of the things my notes was they don't seem to be worried about their loved ones at all. They don't seem to be reaching out to their parents and checking on their parents and going, "Are you a fucking pod person now?" You know, they don't.
You couldn't believe them.
They're contained. Well, and you do get the Elijah Wood part where his parents are like, "You're on fucking drugs. We don't believe you." That type of thing. So he did put that in there. But yeah, you're porn. Give me your boobs, Mags. Sorry, buddy. But it just
that's a great issue of boob.
Especially when they're running through the town. If they had worried about their parents, he could have kind of brought the town more into it if he wanted to. He chose not to, which I think was a good choice. But I like the way he writes. I guess what I'm trying to say. He stays in his limited locations. He keeps the story moving, and he keeps you guessing constantly.
And he didn't even write the script in the first place. He was brought in to do punch-ups on it. I guess the script was quite old. It was from 1990, I think, and it took a while kicking around until it finally found the right people to make it.
Did you guys spot Wiley?
Oh yeah, he was from Dazed and Confused. He's with the canceled one trying to buy the drugs out of the pens earlier in the movie.
Yeah, he's with Danny Masterson. Yeah.
It took me a second. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. That's the kid from Dazed and Confused.
Danny Masterson's a scumbag. But Hyde from that 70s show is cool. He didn't
separate the art from the artist. All right.
Exactly. It's like all over the news. They're like, Hulk Hogan did this. Hulk Hogan did that. Hulk Hogan didn't do shit. That guy's Terry Bollea. He's not Hulk Hogan. Hulk Hogan wouldn't do this. Hulk Hogan didn't do shit.
Right.
It's a character.
Yeah, exactly. God, we have that conversation about. We've had that conversation on this show several times. Like, Get Into the Greek.
Into the Greek.
You watch Get Into the Greek, you're like, Jesus Christ! It's a cavalcade of fucking canceled people who've done terrible shit. Russell Brand, fucking Jonah Hill. Jonah Hill, not as bad as the other two, but still kind of an asshole. And then fucking Diddy of all people. You know,
Diddy of all people. He called his label Bad Boy.
True.
You know, he wasn't. This wasn't. This. True, you know, he let you know. He said "Bad Boy" for life. What part weren't you listening to?
He signed on to Death Row Records. He was not convicted of killing anybody publicly. So I mean, shit's all for show.
Plus, there's all those videos coming out where it's like Diddy tried to tell everyone, and they play a clip of his lyrics, and it's like, well, yeah, he was telling you. He was telling you the whole time. The entire time you weren't listening.
But you
didn't believe him.
But to enjoy that movie, you have to go, all right, I'm not going to, that's not Diddy. That's whatever rap mogul, music mogul. Otherwise, I can't enjoy this movie. That's not Russell Brand.
I can still watch, I mean.
I can still watch it. It doesn't, I'm able to separate
watch Chris Benoit matches, you know. Sure. I can still watch Home Alone 2, you know, with no problem. You know, their characters. And depending on how you watch the movie, they don't get money from it. They really, you know, so
right.
It really depends on the way it goes. So, you know, for instance, you buy the DVD used at a thrift store. They don't see anything. They already got their money from it. You're not getting anything. So buy the used DVD, and they don't get a cent. You know, so if you still want to watch Harry Potter, you want to make sure maybe some people don't get any money from it. You can go buy one of the used Blu-ray sets and watch it all you want, and nobody gets anything. Except for that DVD store.
Or if you support that person and think Diddy's awesome, then go buy a brand new copy of Get Him to the Greek and, you know, make sure he gets a little money for his defense.
He said he was a bad boy for life. I don't know why people are mad. The man's using oil. Worry about the people who aren't going to use any oil. They're the trouble.
The weird thing about that Greek movie is Diddy's character.
We're not gonna be able to release any of this show.
Everything he says is kind of like the stuff he's been accused of, so it makes it even harder to separate.
It's
like all the
oh
Vince
my
McMahon
God.
stuff
Yeah.
too, right?
Oh,
All
yeah,
the
that's a good
Vince
example.
McMahon scandal. It's like, guys, I've been watching him since the 90s. He said he was doing all this over and over. I mean, he said it himself. I don't know why you didn't believe him.
Well, and this film produced by the Weinsteins, so there you go.
But they all are, honestly, right? So, but yeah, Rodriguez has a lot of movies from them. So,
yeah. Well, it was fun to see Stewart as a bad guy in this movie. John Stewart, I quite enjoyed that. John Stewart's such a likable guy.
Mr. Furlong, which I thought was a funny name there.
Yeah, and watching him get his fingers cut off and throw kids around the room was just a lot of
but he's got that cringe line earlier where he's trying to hit on Selma Hayek and he goes, "Why don't you just stab a pen in my eye?" Which is exactly what they do later, and it's like that's a little on the nose, you know, because that's not an expression. No one walks around going, "Why don't you just stab a pen in my eye?" And you know, that's not a saying. You know, it's not like break a leg and then later he breaks a leg. There's no reason for him to say that.
That's true.
Kevin Williamson.
Do they explain, and I may have missed it, but do they explain why Jordana Brewster is suddenly wearing glasses? Because at one point,
incognito, she's hiding, right?
She's
an alien by then, though.
Right, she's an alien.
She was
by
turned
then.
the evening after them witnessing the attack. She clearly gets turned.
Right, and so that's why I was like, why is it? I was wondering because she. At one point, one of them reacts to her glasses. And she goes, "Don't even." And you know, I think it's Elijah Wood, where he's like, "Oh Jesus," and she's like, "Don't even, shut up," and just grabs him, and they go running off. And then
it's the Famke Jensen thing, as if Jordana Brewster is still not gorgeous with us.
Right, exactly. It's like, oh yeah, that did it. Yeah, you're just terrible looking, awful. Yeah,
she's all that syndrome.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I like that you can be beheaded and yet the alien put you back together, so when the aliens are dry, you got your head back on still.
Was Mars Attack was the year before this, though, right?
I think so,
had the crawling head.
Mm-hmm.
The effects in this movie are probably one of the things that's lacking the most.
The dated CG,
it's just dated CG.
It's fun, but
it's only
fine.
when it moves.
It's fine. Yeah,
it's largely when the alien moves, and I would put that alien running, while it's not great, up against like Alien Covenant, where they have a CGI alien running around and it still looks super cringe. So, you know, I was just watching the most recent VHS movie where they have an alien running around and its CGI was really bad. This CGI was better than that, and this was 98. So I think they put the time, and they blend it with practical effects when it's not running, which is to me the key thing. You know, I understand moving practical effects is hard, use CGI there, but if you're gonna close up, do it with the practical effect, with the puppet, like they do here.
Yeah, it was K&B. And
I love the effects of this, and I think there's just enough of it.
I like
some of the under the skin stuff is
the under the skin stuff, and it's in particular the Famke Jensen head with the tentacles. Some of that stuff was just a little. It's just.
But I would challenge that being on par with Mars Attacks.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Which I don't think we would say the effects are bad. I think they're starting to creak a little bit. But...
Well, these effects are going to play much better on a big screen because you lose about 20% of the image, because the whole image doesn't bounce back to your eyes, and that's what sells a lot of these images and a lot of these effects is you just lose a little bit of it enough to make it fuzzy enough to make it enough that because when they're crystal clear on DVD or on Blu-ray, you can really see the detail of where they missed, right? And you're like, I
can always see the string so hard.
Yeah,
all my favorite old Godzilla movies, and it's
exactly. Now, if you put that shit on a white or a silver screen on a projected in a theater, you won't see that shit. And movie makers back then counted on that. They counted
on you seeing the movie once, right?
True.
They didn't count on you they didn't count on home video. You know,
very true. Very,
so they didn't expect that you were going to be able to go through with a fine-tooth comb frame by frame and really pick up the mistakes.
Right.
And I think
if you did go see their movie 4 times to pick up their mistakes, who cares? You saw my movie 4 times.
Yeah, you gave me 4 times. Point them out.
I like that the way that the CG is getting a little dated makes the movie less kind of gross. It makes it a little more palatable because it's a little cartoony-ish and makes it more like one of those 50s sci-fi movies where you would kill the monster with sodium or something, you know.
the when she's walking in the locker room and she's in human form, but the shadow is all
Oh, yeah.
tentacles around her. That's super 50s.
Really
Like
well
that, the
done.
50s would
Really well
always
done,
do
though.
that. She's in a different shape, and
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
no,
good.
it's
I
very
like
well
that.
done.
Yeah, I like that quite a bit. It reminded me of the Clash of the Titans, where
Mm.
we meet where
Mhm.
Medusa's crawling
Medusa.
through the cave, and then she changes in the
call.
shadow form. You know, that reminded me a bit of that too.
Good
I
call.
love that.
Yeah, that's certainly probably not a mistake because she's, I believe, as Casey's running around those lockers, like leaning around lockers. Does he use a mirror at some point to look around a corner?
I think I think he just peeks and then he backs away and then he's gone when she comes around the corner because she knows he's there or thinks she knows he's
But
there.
that's definitely a Clash of the Titans shot too, though, where
It
you
feels
know he's
like it.
hiding behind the pillar and she comes right up to the pillar to strike, but then we pan
Yeah.
down to find he's gone. That's
Yeah.
like direct Harryhausen there.
I'm so glad that Zeke makes meth because that means, of course, he can break down the chemical composition of the alien and figure out how to kill it. I mean,
He's such
if
a
he-
genius
if he
scientist
didn't-
at the moment
thank
he
God
needs to be.
Exactly. Thank God he knows how to make meth.
Mhm.
He put those glasses on. He did
That's
the
what it is.
John K. Jensen
There
thing.
you
He
go.
put the glasses
There you
on. He
go.
got a little uglier and he
Uh-huh.
got smarter.
Plus
So
2 intelligence.
glasses
Yeah,
make you
boom.
smarter. There it
Mhm.
is.
Plus
This
2
is the movie that
intelligence.
establishes it.
Yeah, roll for breakdown.
Hey, I
Um,
earned that D. All right.
That was my D.
And see, he had an opposite story. He wanted the bad grade. Josh Hartnett could really get the good grades. The other guy couldn't.
Put on the
Josh
glasses
Hartnett
for
was
the
trying to get attention from his mother.
Mm.
They kind of
Which
all
they
had a
always
bad
do.
parent situation. We never really got to know much about Stokely's parents exactly, but we can assume she doesn't come from like
Mhm.
that great a home.
to me, Stokely is your
Stokely's the best.
bargain bin Kevin Dillon. When
I
you
don't
when
know
you
what that
can't get
means.
Kevin Dillon, you get Stokely. He's your bargain bin Kevin Dillon. He
No,
just
Stokely is
He just
Clea
reminds
Duvall.
me of Dillon.
Stokely's Clea Duvall.
I love
Yeah.
that guy. Oh yeah, my bad. I'm thinking of
Stan's the football player.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
thinking of the football player. My bad.
Yeah,
Stokely's
Stan.
great.
Yeah, no, Clea Duvall's
great.
is Stokely.
Yeah,
Stokes.
Stan is kind of my bargain bin Kevin Dillon there. But Stokes is great. I like her quite a bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I mean, I think he plays football player pretty well. You know, like
Yeah.
when he puts the uniform back on and start marching with the team, he looks like an ass kicker. I kind of wish he had gotten to have a fist fight with Zeke, except for the fact that he probably does. I don't know that the alien makes them stronger though. Like, so I still think Josh Hartnett would beat his ass. Like,
I definitely bought him being a football player over Usher. Did anybody buy Usher being a football player?
I do. Yeah, why not?
I just didn't buy it. He just didn't look comfortable in the uniform. He just didn't look like he's. I don't know.
I think it's weird that he like Usher's holding the alien like in his hand and he drops it in one of the enemy football, I don't know, opposing football team squadrons.
In your ear.
Ear. And it's like, here it is in my hand. It's like, I thought it had to come right out of your mouth, and but not now. Now we could like move it however we want.
Very Star Trek 2 in the ear.
Oh, it's absolutely is kind of a Star Trek 2 type thing.
Yeah.
Positively.
My favorite line in the movie is "Sniff this." I don't know why. It's just my favorite line in the movie. Sniff this.
Oh God, there's
okay.
a lot
Yeah,
of movies
sure.
a lot of lines of this that I like.
They brought up Robert Heinlein again. Was he mentioned in the Predestination movie? Was that?
Yeah, he was.
We had talked about him before.
Yep.
Mo Henry was the negative cutter on this one. Another Mo Henry movie. Mo Henry cut like hundreds of films.
400. She was a negative cutter, cut like 400 or 500 films.
And
if you have a movie that you like, either Edith Head did the costume work or Mo Henry cut the film.
Right.
One of the two.
In the bizarre soundtrack of this had that one song from Class of 1999, which was the last recording of Lane Staley, the Alice in Chains singer, which was...
I knew there was going to be something Alice in Chains in here for you, Marty.
Yeah.
I had a feeling.
Because he was basically, it was like Rage Against the Machine, but with him as the singer was Class of 1999. So it's that weird little tidbit there.
You think the soundtrack's weird? I think the soundtrack is one of the critical identities of this, and it is very Scream-like.
Mm-hmm.
But I love its choice of using another brick in the wall, and it has to use the REM one because it has to be the alt. It's got to be more alty and edgy and 90s-y.
Right.
And we
gotta get that Offspring
podcast.
song
Sometimes
in
we talk about a movie being timeless or timeful. This movie is timeful, and that's part of the charm. It's a time capsule of not just this era in culture, but of this era in filmmaking.
Yeah. I mean, right in the beginning of the movie, when Hartnett gets out of the GTO, my first thought was, this is when we used to wear 3 shirts. Right? You had your white shirt, your shirt over it, and then your flannel. 3 shirts.
It was a good system.
It was. I mean, it worked. You never, by the end of the day, you're probably down to 1 shirt, but still, you had 3 shirts. You had layers to peel off.
Exactly. Something to work with.
Something to work with.
And then Zeke knew that.
And again, I think Marty and I, Marty may pick up on this, but at the end when Zeke has joined the football team and he's takes a quick break and rips his helmet off, and he's like, boom, and who's in the stands fucking waving at him, waiting on him? Famke Jensen. What the fuck?
Early in the 90s, could it be okay?
Yep, exactly.
This high school student and the teacher. Exactly. But he's been held back a couple times. So we're starting... He has been. They said that. They said you could have graduated last summer. Remember, she says that. So he is 19 or something. Yeah. And Frank, that means Uncle Sam could send Zeke to die in some godforsaken hole.
Don't know.
No way. If Uncle Sam could send Zeke to die in some rock,
he can have sex
for oil, he can bang his teacher now. Now he's gonna be out of school. She's clearly waiting till he's out of school. She's in the stands, which I think is a euphemism. She's in the stands. She's waiting.
I think you're reaching, but I love it. Oh my God.
Reach for the stars.
Keep your feet on the ground, but keep reaching for those stars.
So it's like a fun little
I'm not going to yuck Josh Hartnett's yum.
No, I'm not going to yuck anybody's yum. If it works for you and it doesn't work for me, great. That's fine, Now
I don't know what the rules
at the same time,
are. He cut her head off, and that's a bond when you've been through that.
Right.
He's seen her at her worst, at her most vulnerable. So she may lose her job.
But she won't lose her head.
Maybe she found love. She won't lose her head.
She wants him to graduate. You see, she's helping him.
I don't know if she's going to be
5%.
I don't know if she's going to be alive. I mean, her head was removed from her body, and the alien put it back together. Right. I'm not sure that the thing can just wiggle out of her body now and dry up, and she's going to be fine.
Yeah, Jon Stewart's okay too, right? We see him in the end credits where he's like, "Oh, I don't have fingers."
Do we?
I missed
Is Jon Stewart in the end credits?
Is there a stinger in the end credits?
Well, yeah, they show the people's names, and he's got an eye patch, and he's missing his fingers, and he's like,
"Oh, I think I do remember that." But there's hilarious. No way. He got his ass paper shredded. I love that too. I love when he rips that paper cutter arm and turns into a machete.
Yeah, I also love how quickly he is to that, where he's just 2 seconds into the fight, he's like, I need to rip this machete off this paper cutter and kill this teacher. It takes him no time. He makes the choice.
That's why he's Zeke.
That's why he's Zeke. That and that he makes.
That's why he gets Famke Jensen at the end of the movie.
The aliens have a healing factor, you see. Except I think not everybody came back to life. We don't see the older teacher who the alien couldn't take to. I don't know if he comes back.
Oh, speaking of which, we did skip over one person in this movie who's very important, and that's Piper Laurie.
Oh, yeah.
Piper Laurie is a 3-time fucking Oscar-nominated actress, and she's in this fucking movie.
Well, she's bringing the Carrie vibes, right?
Yeah. She looks like Debbie Reynolds, and at first I thought it was Debbie Reynolds, but it's Piper Laurie.
Oh.
And I was just like, holy shit, what the fuck is she doing? Piper Laurie was in a Hustler, for fuck's sake. I mean... Like a real
magazine or a movie?
The movie.
Yeah. The prequel to The Color of Money.
She could be in the magazine too.
With Paul Newman. Well, with Paul Newman. Apparently she took 15 years off. She basically got annoyed with Hollywood because they kept putting her in rom-coms and all these fluffy movies, and she's like, fuck it. And she went to New York City and just started acting, and then when the Vietnam War kicked off, she took a 15-year break from her career to be an anti-war activist and a supporter of the veterans and all that stuff, and then came back to acting later, which I thought was pretty neat. You don't see people just put their careers normally on hold and then come back to them in the Hollywood era.
That's true. Yeah. My only other note on this one was, did Kevin Williamson and Robert Rodriguez do anything else together? Yes, Robert Rodriguez directed the beginning of Scream 2. specifically the whole Jada Pinkett Smith theater thing and the fake. I think he might have just done
He
the
did
fake
the
stab
whole
movie.
theater thing.
I think he might have just done the stab movie that was on the screen. I'm not sure. if he directed the entire first
Yeah,
one,
that makes sense.
but
Yeah.
That would make sense if he did stab.
did the
Yeah,
stab.
I think you're right.
So
But then I hope that he did the school scenes too that we see later in the movie, because that is one of my favorite things. I think it's in the first Scream where she says she'll be played by Tori Spelling.
oh yeah,
And then in Scream 2, in Stab, she's played by Tori Spelling.
exactly. So yeah, he did that part. Yeah, the stab parts. That's pretty good. I've always got a kick out of that. Because I remember seeing the first one and like it was a good joke, and you go see the second one, it's like, oh shit, they really did put Tori Spelling as Sydney. So
Gotta
She
honor the
agreed
canon,
to
man.
do it. She agreed to do the cameo.
Love it. Love it.
all right. Anything else
Well,
on this one? Or
No, I was surprised at how much I actually enjoyed this one. When it first came out, I was like, oh fuck, I remember this, but it'd been a while, and it felt kind of campy to me, but it really draws you in and grabs you with that camp, where it's like,
it's fun.
it's and it to me it's like it did a few of the things that I wish Barbarella would have done, which is kind of give me just a little bit more to work with story wise and things, so I could really kind of jump off. They're two very different movies for sure, but I'd give this the easy 3 stars.
You're doing the 3 also. I'm doing
That's
3.
the
as well.
exact same thing you gave Barbarella, so what's the scale?
Well, usually we go 1 through 5, and half the time Cliff's giving a movie a 4, and I'm giving it a 1, or the other way around. But this week we kind of met in the middle. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's not one I'm going to put on all the time. I'm not gonna rewatch it a lot, but if it comes on, I'll be like, shit, I can watch this.
I might throw
fun,
this in every couple year rotation now. I've been away from it for maybe 15 years or so, so it was nice.
I do love that fucking cast. Quite a bit. I love that cast, and Rodriguez is a great director.
And they're all doing great. I think one of the best parts too is when Elijah Wood's got to be high in the test scene, and he's like showdown. It's like that is the most drunk guy or high guy thing to do, to sort of go into yourself and go, "Whoa, showdown!"
Showdown.
And really entertaining yourself that way is so believable. Whereas everyone else is just laughing.
I call this a Nexus movie, right? It's like it's a movie where all these stars' careers kind of all their ley lines all cross each other, and you get this great nexus of just a ton of really great stars that go on to do other stuff.
Hartnett and Wood are in Sin City together too, not in a scene together, but they're
more Rodriguez. Yeah,
you get more Rodriguez. Yeah, fantastic.
But are they Spy Kids 1, 2, or 3? Yeah.
Well, and this is I think part of why. This is the area of Rodriguez's career I'm not a huge fan of. I don't like the Spy Kids movies. They're fine, but there's not stuff. I don't watch them. They're not really rewatchable. And this comes right before that, and just feels like this is before he really hits his stride with some of this stuff later on that he does, which is really some of his best work.
What about the Misbehaviors and 4 Rooms?
Oh, yeah, that was slightly before this. Yeah, I like that.
Before Spy Kids too, but I think it sets the tone for Spy Kids.
Yeah, 4 Rooms was great. Yeah, I enjoyed it. But to me, that's a more adult version of Spy Kids. Like I get you with the tone and shit, but it's that were really Tim Roth's through line all the way through that whole movie is fantastic. Just watching him in these vignettes where he has these crazy moments.
I even like Shark Boy and Lava Girl to an extent. So there's always something fun in a Robert Rodriguez movie. I'm gonna have to make you watch Shorts at some point. Then that means I gotta watch it again. The movie about living boogers or something. I remember. I think his kids wrote that one. Robert Rodriguez Shorts. Yeah, that's a strange one. But anyways, Rob, what do you give this movie?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5. I don't think it really stumbles anywhere. There's a couple of moments where that CGI creaks. Yes, the characters are archetypical, but I think that helps us kind of pick one of the 6 to relate to immediately. I think everyone who sits in this movie finds one of the 6 to latch onto, and follow throughout it. Great cast, I think. Great soundtrack. So to me, this is a top 90s movie. If you're asking me about like a 90s sci-fi movie, this 90s teenage kind of movie, this 90s thriller, this It can kind of do all of it. It can be funny, it can be scary, it can be a little sexy. You know, it's the whole package. I don't think it really stammers anywhere, other than the fact that at the end of the day, what's it about? Aliens and high school kids. So it kind of misses out on having a greater theme other than, I don't know, be courageous and you'll get the hot girl eventually, which is a good theme.
Yeah, it does do a good job of grabbing you and dragging you. Like, you know, like, don't worry, like you said, don't worry so much about story. I'm just going to drag you along, and you know, that type of thing. It does a good job of that.
Yeah.
What did Marty give it?
I gave it a 3. Yeah.
You guys both met on 3 in the middle.
Don't be mad.
It sounded like you disliked the first one and liked the second, but they're both,
both
3.
Yeah. I like both. Yeah.
You're pretty right. I mean, like I said, I was going to give
there's
Barbarella,
a good 3 and a bad 3. So
I was going to give.
I need the
Barbarella
Lionel
2.5.
Hutz meme.
Yeah,
the Lionel Hutz meme. There's 3, and then there's 3.
Don't hold me to my own rating system. Don't do that.
Oh, what about precedent? I'm citing precedent from within this own episode.
Yeah, no, I think I give Barbarella 3.
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, I give Barbarella 3. I would normally give it 2.5, but I agree after watching it this last time that, like, it's undeniable in its art direction, its set direction, its costume design.
So you appreciate it.
Absolute wild creativity is fucking amazing. It just, you know, for me, it fails on like storytelling and, you know, the pacing is pretty rough at times, that type of thing. So for me, it's a rough watch for those reasons.
I think that's because you're evil. You've got evil in your heart, like the people of Sogo.
Well, I mean, I did identify with them quite a bit.
It's the French aesthetic that throws him off, you know.
Yeah, I do have a problem with the French. I do. It's true.
One of these days I'll find a French movie that he likes, but he already told me if I give him Jean Reno or one of those, you know.
Yeah.
Or
Did you watch High Tension?
Yeah.
High Tension. I think I've seen that a long time ago.
That'd be a good one to make him watch. I don't know if he's seen that one, so.
I saw that one, but like I've seen some of the great, you know, I've seen some Godard and some Truffaut and stuff. I recognize it for art, but it doesn't move me. It doesn't do what. It doesn't hit with me.
Jean Rollin has a lot of very interesting French films, but they're of a sort of a different tenor, I'd say.
We watched Mon Oncle by Tati, and he really got a lot out of it. And for me, it wasn't my type of thing. I don't know, this isn't my type of thing. It's like watching a French Jerry Lewis, and I'm not a big Jerry Lewis fan, so.
And yet I made Cliff watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and originally he was like, "Oh God," and the next week he came back like, "That was really fucking good." So you never know.
But I made him watch it in French and told him it was a French movie, and he was like, "Well, I really liked that."
Find that French dub.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't know Tobey Hooper was French. This is fucking awesome.
Exactly. Yeah. that would work exactly. You found a French movie that you like.
That's hilarious.
Here it is, the 10 Commandments. The Commandments les 10.
There are a few out there. In particular, Leon the Professional, La Femme Nikita is another great movie, but that's French. I like some of the mid '90s French stuff quite a bit.
You like that action stuff, yeah?
I do. I think it works pretty well. Yeah.
See, I like all the weird 70s kind of. It's not really giallo because it's French, you know, but they're kind of murder mysteries, and the French have the same philosophy as the Italians, or it's like put tits in it.
Yeah. Wait, what are we gonna do?
The 70s, it's no matter what they're doing in any kind of movie, they manage to sneak it in.
Weirdly, I like the Italian aesthetic, I think, a little more than the French. At least from what I've seen. You know, I will not say I am a full, you know, cinephile on French and Italian cinema, but from what I've seen, I kind of tend to lean toward that aesthetic a bit more.
Yeah, well, the Italians definitely tend to go more gonzo weird in their horror
and I think
stuff,
that's what,
so.
I think that's what gets me is the gonzo weird stuff. But
We really
Rob,
stayed on topic today, honestly.
yeah, we didn't wander at all. No, not at
Barely,
all.
hardly.
We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
Anytime.
It was a lot of fun.
You're not gonna have the rest of those guys on here, are you?
No.
Oh, good. Those
No.
scumbags.
No, I don't like. We don't. You were literally our first and only pick from that show.
Fantastic. That's what I
Like,
like to hear.
Robb Maynard. It's obvious. It's an obvious choice. Why even bother talking
Exactly.
about it? Just get Robb.
Right?
Terrific.
All right.
And
Well,
put that on a shirt.
we
Sign
may
it.
we may bring you on again. Who knows?
Mhm.
But do you have anything you want to plug while you're here? Anything you want to?
Well, I already
push?
plugged Reels of Justice, so you
Yep.
know everyone can check out Reels of Justice. We also have a sort of YouTube project that we do called Trailer Trashed.
Oh, yeah.
That's apostrophe D trashed, like, it's kind of a riffing show. We watch trailers, and we get trashed, and
Nice.
we talk about what we hated about the trailer, and it's usually about what we hated. We usually tend to pick bad trailers. When they're good trailers, we don't tend to do them. And it's usually about how trailers ruin movies. 9 times out of 10. We a lot of times try to guess how the movie will go based on the trailer.
Oh, that got
Sometimes we
got
tend to
so
be
bad
right.
in the '90s, where it was just like, here's all the beats of the movie coming.
I think it
Really
still
don't need-
happens.
It is.
Totally.
I feel like they pared it back a bit because, like, in the '90s, every now and then you could go like, well, I can tell you the whole movie. I don't need to see it. I can literally tell you the end of the second act, how the third act goes, who the killer is, all from the trailer.
Yeah.
It is. Ugh.
Yeah, I think one of the worst ones I saw recently was Abigail.
Oh,
Great movie, but the trailer,
It shows
if
you
you've
everything.
seen the trailer, the first act of the movie is worthless.
Mhm.
Because the first act of the movie, they're trying to make you go, "Oh, what is it? What is it?" And it's like, no, I saw the
Yeah, we already know.
trailer dropped us into Act 2, guys. You know,
Right.
and it's like 40 minutes long of them doing it, trying to like create red herrings and lead you astray. And it's like, no, guys, I know what it is, and I've even seen her do all the cool stuff already in the trailer.
Mhm.
So,
Let's get to it.
the trailer succeeded in showing how cool the movie was. I just wish that it was the movie that had gotten me to realize that.
Yeah.
So talk about a movie that I would have walked out going, great, but trailer completely
Mhm.
botched it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it. I still like the movie, but I agree. It's like I would have liked the movie. It would have had a hell of a lot more impact, and I would have been like, oh, that's a great turn. But you ruined it with the fucking trailer.
Yeah, it would have been like one of my movies of the year with it.
Yeah.
It probably would have fallen.
Yeah, it's like I was just gonna say, it's like this. It's like if you went to the Sixth Sense and you were like, oh, by the way, he's a ghost.
My friend did figure out the Sixth Sense in the theater, and
Really?
did ruin it to. It wasn't to me; it was to his brother that he apparently he guessed it and ruined it to him. He was like, "He's
Yeah,
dead
you
the
should
whole
probably
time."
keep that to yourself.
Mhm.
Maybe after I knew that the whole.
You don't know that you're right. I do it all the time when I watch movies. I'll lean over and be like, "This is what I think it is," and you don't know what you're right. You kind of hope you're not. But if you are right, you want to put your flag in the ground now and go, "You see, I called it, bastards."
Yeah, I see your point. All right. Anything else? Marty?
No, I think I've done enough damage.
Yeah.
I think you have too. Now get out of here.
No.
But come back. And see us again.
Oh, you mean later? Oh, got it.
Yes. Robb, thank you so much. We
Yeah,
appreciate you.
thanks,
Thank you.
All
It was
right.
a good
We'll
one.
see you later.
You don't have a sign off. You don't have a a Pondo.
Oh yeah, we're supposed
And
to say a
Pondo
line
that?
from the movie.
We have a.
And that's
what'd
what
you
I
say?
call Pondo.
We're supposed
was
to
it,
say a
Mark?
line from one of the movies, right? Wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that
Hey,
is
you
right.
good? Thank God I'm here.
Yes. I need to. What is my favorite line from Barbarella?
No, it's it's.
I
she
need to
said
adjust. I need to
no.
adjust my tongue box.
No. The line should be right when they're over Jon Stewart's dead body. He goes, "Isn't the moment that someone says we need to get the fuck out of here?" And Stoker goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here."
Let's get the fuck out of here. Yep. All right.
Let's get the fuck out of here.
Let's get the fuck out of here. Later.
Support the show on Buzzsprout for only $3 a month. Give us a 5-star review on Spotify or the platform of your choice. And be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube page.